So, the new Memory of Chaos. Some people say it's hard compared to the previous one. We've got 30% more HP and less cycles for 3 stars, and we don't know if it's here to stay or it's just small spike before Memory of Chaos 11 and 12 that will inherit the stats. Let me walk you through by hand on what to do. This video will be on stage 9 and 10. If you would like to know about earlier stages, let me know. In this video I'll focus on simplest way to do it, through weaknesses, because right, you can win it with any strong character, any well-built character, but I'll focus on weaknesses, which would be the easiest way for people who have only a few specific characters. And I will also mention 3 characters that I'll talk about them just briefly now to avoid any misunderstanding. Argenti and Heya released this week, and without myself having one or testing them properly, I can only look through performance of other people or sites. Like you will see with a few of characters on the list. Few sites rank them highly, around S tier or something around that. With how both level 9 and 10 have weaknesses, I would say, looking at my list, you could see any of them in damage dealer slot for Argenti and buffer slot for Heya. Now about Silverwolf. Here's the thing about her. I want to use her as an example of a really good character that could mix things up with her weaknesses implant and mess the list up more than it already is thanks to my organizing. You could basically put her in any team and she would be good. And there would be probably comments like why there's no team with Blade and her, for example. The answer is simple: to avoid any more confusion and to have that list around certain few types that make the list easier. If you want to put her in any slot on the list, you could replace it for any Memory of Chaos 10 Quantum team slot. Let's start with Memory Turbulence. It favors more characters who can attack few times during their turn, like the hand characters. You can use characters that don't use their skills for attacking still and win it, so don't worry about it. After an ally uses skill or ultimate, add 1 hit per action to Memory Turbulence, up to 10 extra hits. Remember that characters who attack multiple targets still count as 1. Let's start with the stage 9, Aromaton and Ascended. Both of them have physical and lightning recommended weaknesses, though you can use some imaginary and ice weakness characters. You could save damage dealers for the second one. Ascended is relatively easy. The annoying thing is that she can reduce max HP. Aromaton is worse since she can stun you. For now I'll focus on recommended weaknesses. So physical one first, and here I want to mention Argenti and Heya. Argenti by himself could work with the team like you see, and Heya could be okay as amplifier slot. For this list now I'll talk about Sushang and Clara, who we had from the beginning. Clara is good thanks to her follow-ups and focusing most of the damage on herself. If the enemy targets you, that's basically easy energy and counters. Her best slot partner for it would be either Fuhuan, Jeopard or March 7. Fuhuan, overall, one of the best defensive characters. If you don't have her, then choose Jeopard or ultimately March. Those two are somewhat similar, but our 4-star option can taunt enemies on shielded character if their HP is 30% or more. Additionally, to fill the team you can either run Yukong since she's free to get and basically buffs, plus helps with imaginary weakness, or Velt for soul damage. Last slot you could run any debuffer, and I would recommend Pela or Luca, since if you finished even the 1.4, then you can get either of them through special ticket. Second way to do this in case you don't have Clara is Sushang, since she was also free in 1.3. Same base as earlier, you can use those 3 preservation characters, or in this case you could also use healer like Loka, Natasha, Bailu, Lynx or Huahuo. As long as your team is alive, it's good. For other 2 characters I could recommend the same as for Clara, so Yukong, Velt or Luca and Pela. Now I want to stop for a moment because someone can ask if something like team with Sushang and Clara would work. I would say yes, since I did it on Memory of Chaos 10. You have to swap one slot and go with remaining one, but then I would recommend Preservation character rather than Abundance. For Lightning Weakness now, I would recommend here again two characters, Jin-Yuan and Kafka, two different playstyles, but each should suffice. Starting with Jin-Yuan, he got pretty much buffed with the new set, so he's viable now. Pair him with Tingyun for second slot and he will work great. Here you can pick again healer or shielder you have, though I wouldn't say much is good here unless you pick Clara in last slot, but the rest is fine. For last slot, like I said, Clara could be good or previously mentioned imaginary, physical or ice nihility characters. For Kafka I would recommend Tingyun as well, since they are good together again. As for any form of survivability again, people do tend to run their Fuhuan, Luoka, Bailu, which could be good for weaknesses, and Jeopard. As for last slot, it's up to you who to choose. For Kafka, Sampo, Guinaifen or Asta are ideal. For the second half, there's Team Leader and Automaton Direwolf. Both of those enemies have ice and imaginary weaknesses. However, I could also add third one with fire, since one of the teams is really good here as well. This is due to the fact that if you look at what the opponents look in the phase 1 and phase 2, you will see that the team leader is in both of them, and in phase 2 only Direwolf comes in and helps team leader, which makes it easy to take this team very well. For ice weakness, my go-to choice would be Jingyu and Pela, that's why I gave it few more replacements in the first team. As for supports, Bronya Tingyun would be common here, and any healer shielder is good, but specifically for Jingyu I would pick healer. For fire team that I mentioned, there's still maybe 3 good characters that will work and should deal with it quickly. First of all, Topaz, main damage dealer, Guinaifen for debuffs, more fire breaks, death reduction, and last one is Asta for support. These 3 can be enough plus any previously mentioned Abundance or Preservation character. As for imaginary characters, Danheng Inhibitor Lunae is your way to go. You could theoretically go with Vel too, but we'll focus on Danheng. For support, here you can go with Yukang easily, like I said, with Pela earlier or Tingyun. Both can work in one team too. Survivability again, Luoka my pick for weakness, Fuhuan or Jeopard. As you can see, there's so many combinations for it, and like you see, you can pick what you want, have and what you like. Memory of Chaos 10 has 2 boss characters, Jeopard and Swarm. Best recommended times for Team 1 are physical again, physical and imaginary. So that's basically copy and paste from previous stages. Speaking of physical, I could bring up again those teams with Clara and Sushang. For my first complete run, as you see, I used Sushang, Clara, Yukang and Fuhuan, and it was enough. First phase, you can either focus on Trampler right away or hoard some points with Yuan Sushang on enemies with broken weakness. Second phase, you should focus on Jeopard first and ignore Trampler, leaving it for later. Imaginary path works the same as before. I could bring the same characters from earlier, so Danheng may be Welt, Yukong, Tingyun, and either someone like Luoka or Huo, Bailu or Fuhuan. Team 2 will need some change, you can use it for Jingyu with Pela, and let me bring those teams again. Ice weakness is really important for both phases. Overall, this team with Jingyu and Pela is probably one of the best choices to overall run through the current Memory of Chaos. Blaze Out of Space is weak to ice, so you see where I am coming from. Swarm meanwhile has ice, quantum and imaginary weaknesses. If going for ice, then aside from Jingyu and Pela, you'd want maybe Bronya, Luoka 2 or Fuhuan. Now for quantum team, I would go with either Sele or Ingwe. Both are good for main damage dealer. For healer or shielder, you wanna Lynx or Fuhuan, like in my team. Other than those two, I used Veld and Pela. Pela is again really good here for holding SPs and for breaking the weakness, so she's really great here. For last slot, if not imaginary character, then you can go with Bronya or Tingyun. First phase is relatively easy with blazes, so prepare for the second phase. Inkwell works great with defeating smaller swarms, or if you manage to defeat them with Sela and get another turn, that works great with Hold Turbulence and you can easily charge it up, especially if she gets a few turns. Although I don't know if it counts as follow-up attack now or as normal skill. However, you would probably use basic attacks for the follow-ups. Again, so many teams, so many choices you see. If you have built your favorite characters enough to the level you think you can attempt it, then go ahead and give it a try. So I hope you share your teams and thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.